Hey, it's ODB, our lifestyle podcast. This is issue 66 of Mini Truckin Magazine. June 97, great year. We've been obviously plowing through these. I'd say we're about a third of the way through. Well, I don't know if it's a third, maybe a quarter of the way through. I had to check my math there. But this is, I would say, a very iconic cover. There weren't many issues with wire wheels on the cover. Back in these days, the minis and the wires didn't always play well. Different styles. Love me some wire wheels like many of you guys. You have a lot to talk about here, but basically reds on the cover. And then this was the first show I ever went to in Tampa. We'll talk about it. Let's jump right in. Before we do, I want to let you guys know that please, if you get a chance, go to ourlifestylepodcast.com. We're taking it back, way back. And we're basically recreating the original Mini Truckin Magazine shirt. We've got a little bit of a spin on it because we've got the OLP, kind of our version of Mini Truckin. There's decals, the shirts, the tank tops, zip-ups, hoodies, all fairly priced. You also have the banners. This one's going to be a little bit bigger of a banner. Mike and I talked about, we don't have the official image yet, but basically 37 or 34 by 17, and then you have the iconic bumper sticker, and you have an OLP version. We also have the time machine stuff out there as well. Please check it out. So without further ado, let's jump in to issue 66. Now, I did confirm, although I thought that these ads are a little crazy, right? This is the way advertising was done in those days, and that is Mike Shartsis, okay? So I always thought these ads were kind of funny. Again, they're very catchy. We're still talking about them all these years later. And it was Macron, is how you say it. But again, that was Mr. Shartsis. And you'll see that look here kind of in a minute, I think. So stage one, rest in peace, Ernie Macias. I remember he chimed in on a post one day, and he said he remembered it may have been stage one that lowered his first truck. But, so many people remember this iconic ad with that logo and, of course, that Nissan hardbody topless. One of my favorite things to do is look at the TOC, table of contents. You see the features there. Juiced in the 90s is this special pull-out centerfold. You got some tech, of course. That was a big piece of the magazine. Events. My first show, Slamfest 96. Have a brand new shirt, never worn from that event. And a hat, believe it or not. Here you have some of the sneak peek. This is a truck that I got a chance to see. I think last time I saw it was 96. I saw it this year at Made of Steel. You have the iconic kind of Sprite colors, the two trucks next to each other. Ed Eister, shout out to Ed. He's a big supporter. Ed has shared photos with us in the past of that dynamic duo. Here you have Red's Hydraulics, was responsible for preparing the dancing Mazda featured alongside the Vicarious. No, wait, am I saying that right? Angeline, and I can't say her last name, for our June Mini Truckin Magazine issue. Shartsis. Camera credits go to Lensmaster Wes Allison, and then the insert photo, Shartsis. Okay, so there you go. I'd say voluptuous, if I can say that word. Okay, so there you go. Kind of looks like you can see there a little bit Shartsis's look there. And meet the staff. And you've got a little spin on these guys. A little bit of intel about them, including Lance there. Got the color, the famous black and white ads. I'm not in my groove yet. Here you have MidSouth NATS. So a lot of shows over the years have been called NATS. I think the most famous one for us is Southeast Mini Truckin NATS, which we're excited about for next April. There's going to be some big news coming out from some of our folks out west. I'll leave it at that, but I think it'll tie in nicely to the show next year. My intel, according to my intel. Got some good times, club games, shenanigans. Big part of our scene. all the people that come out to it. Here you got Pro Hopper Hydraulics Shop Tour. So this one's kind of cool because it's themed out, I'd say kind of like a lowrider spin, you know, with the hydraulics and some of the stuff that they showed. Of course, we saw Reds on the cover. Pro Hopper, right, was a competitor to them. So that was a little different, but obviously they're trying to keep it, you know, not one-sided. Dress Your Bed. So kind of simpler tech. Paper cuts. I always love the insert photos here. So you have, rest in peace, Sean Carlson. There's one of his photos from the Cow Concepts Last Look shoot. Epic. Here you have, I remember seeing this truck on the old NC website back in the day. I always remember that one. The tag said Splat. Got the famous oval NC logo. And then you got another NC Yoda with that Phantom grill, that S-10 next to it. We saw that photo, I think, recently in the mag, I think, or that truck. They all kind of blend together in my head. So triple threat, obviously a triple axle. The triple axle tandem long ranger. That's a mouthful. Joe Greaves. I know there's some people out there that love the tandem axles or triple axles. I think it's a cool thing. It's maybe not something I would own. I wouldn't want to buy all the wheels, but I totally dig it. It's a big part of our scene. New Style Minis. We've seen that logo before. Joe loves shooting with this background, okay? I would be willing to guess this was maybe shot in Daytona. If you look back at, I think, Catch 22, Jimmy's Running Customs Hard Body, maybe even Dave's, I think the F-150 when it was blue. It's got that famous sand photo where he's kind of got the sand pushed up on the bumper. But Joe loves shooting with this background. Any of the guys will tell you. Joe, I think, lives in St. Augustine, and he'd say, come on up here, you know, I got a good place to shoot, which is cool. Ragtime. So, interesting enough, I've been talking to my buddy about rag tops. We haven't talked enough about them. There's a throwback term for you, sliding rag top, rather. Street Beat, which is now, I think, the same odors as Legacy. We'll hear more about Legacy in the future, but as far as something, you know, we'll talk about with one of our upcoming guests. But I just love sliding rag tops. Now, I know some people don't like them because they do tend to leak. And to me, it's just a pretty cool way to kind of live life topless to a certain extent. One of my favorite sayings and hashtags. This is cool that it was an install. This is an install that I would have definitely dug. I used to read these and think to myself, man, how can anyone like do this without messing up? You know, like what if you cut it wrong? What, you know, and yeah, as I got older, it's like, yeah, you know, measure 3 times, cut once, right? That type of thing. But it always kind of blew my mind that, you know, me not having any skills to do that kind of work, that people could just do that. There's a guy, I forget his name. He has a YouTube channel that I follow, and he, in his garage, has done a bunch of the Target Top installs. Like, he's showing how to do it. I think he was like an authorized installer back in the day. To me, that stuff is awesome. You know, again, it's just not on my skill level, and I love people, you know, seeing people do that stuff. Magnetic Mini Bash 9.6. Little crazy truck there with a crazy bed treatment. What a Yoda. Lifted minis on the rise. That one's got a lot of accessories. Appreciate all the support. Look at the Amigo. Check out OLP via most podcast apps. Search OLP or Our Lifestyle Podcast. Follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do. It's totally free. We drop new content weekly. Episode 300 was recently. 301 was a lot of fun as well. Long and Low. So this is, you know, me being an S-10 guy. This is one of my favorite trucks from back in the day. I think it's still around. If I remember correctly, this is the one we've seen at Mini Nats last year. It's still around. I believe it's the same one. Lasting impressions. And a couple things I love. I love the color combo. So that pinkish And the blue, that's kind of the theme that I've got going on my 64 Lincoln, Smuggler's Blues. Of course, it's a long bed, and it is laid out. And, you know, the long beds don't get enough love in the mini scene, although they're not for everyone. The other thing I love about it is a lot of tweed on the interior. You can see there in the seats. It's a stick, and it had basically the same interior, the factory interior that I had. You got some old school audio. Chime in, let me know, am I thinking the right thing? Is this the one that has the topper now? Here's Lowbuck lowering, Tom Lutz, so we'll see his name a lot in the magazine. Mazda's on the rise. Doesn't get more iconic than a B-Series Mazda, in my opinion. I love them all, though. Okay, here's one. There's a wedding in the Cruisin' Customs family, the Wedding Bells Bash. How freaking insane was that? They had a wedding, basically, and they kind of got together for a car show. Imagine all the homies getting together, saying, dude, let's do it. Get the trophies. Get Mike Murray there with all his trophies. Hold them out. Kind of a cool idea. How many guys can say their wife would let them do a mini trucking inspired wedding? I dig it. Super clean truck, man. I love this style. Love this style. Sonoma, kind of more of a rare grille that you don't see as much these days. Of course, you got that neon behind the fan on there. Sick with it. Check out that green dough. Okay. So here you have, when it comes to extremes, Reds never disappoints. Juiced in the 90s. So a couple things here. I always dug this white Toyota. Super clean, kind of factory look. It's got the Reds license plate on it. You got the wire wheels. You got the beautiful model. I'd say one of the top on all the issues. IMHO, in my honest opinion. June 97, so this was kind of the centerfold that they teased. Here you had the hopper in the back, maybe not as much detail, but it was a good contrast against the white. You had the title Juiced in the 90s. What I dug was this, is boom, take the wheel off, show how clean it was underneath it. Probably fairly a new truck at that point, but still, I dig it. And it used to blow my mind, you know, when I was a lot younger, thinking, man, look at all that stuff. How much would that stuff cost? And, you know, a lot of work. Were you guys like that when you're younger? Like, man, these guys are cutting their floor and hopping their trucks. How do they do all this? That was me. Okay, so here you have California Spring. So the 5th annual Spring California Truck Jamboree ad. This one was in color. Oftentimes they were black and white. Wonder how much more they charged for a color ad. You know, the sales reps back then were probably like, yeah, we'll do a color ad. It'll only be like $250 more. When I often say rest in peace Al Martinez, you'll see there, that's how that name was etched in my mind, seeing it at so many different so many different print ads. You always had Truckin Mag, Mini Truckin, and Budweiser on board. Budweiser, my understanding, was always a huge sponsor, and I always remember this little logo, pick your part, that little octopus deal. But pretty cool to look back. You know, Al Martinez has passed away, rest in peace. Here you got Tom Lutz, so you've got the feature there. And again, you kind of have a little spin there. I mean, pretty epic photo. If you think about, they gave credit in the table of contents, but you know, this one was a, you know, standing three wheel, right? And then the one was hopping in the back, and of course that was before digital, so they're clicking away, hoping they get a good image. And once they did, they were on their way. Pretty cool stuff. This ad ran forever, it seemed like. Those are the good ads you want to sell. You know, the ones that just keep the calls coming in and keep the clients happy. So you just got like a willy-nilly ad there for brake parts. Style and Motion. So real clean Sonoma. I always want to say S-10, but at 96 GMC Sonoma extended cab. Always a big fan of those wheels. I think my buddy sent me those wheels recently, a photo of them. And those are Colorado custom wheels. The caps have changed over the years. We need to get Bill Hancock on one day, or Michael from Colorado Custom. But I know center caps have changed, and they've gotten better, I believe, over the years. I have not installed my Colorado Custom wheels yet on my Lincoln. I'm still waiting for Jimmy at Jimmy's Running Customs to bag it, but I know sometimes it's a pain to put those caps on, so some people say. So here you go. Here's history. 96 Slamfest, my first show that I recall, other than going to new car shows with my parents. This was my first truck show, whatever you want to call it. My buddy Paul and I went. Paul Lane, shout out. I have a ton of photos. Some I've shared. Like, this truck was etched in my mind. I couldn't believe how low it was. Creative Customs, that was a Florida truck, if I remember correctly. Isuzus were super popular. You got the Nissan hardbody, and again, see the wheel that was off. You have the insert photo on the cover. I have photos as well from the hydraulic contest. We love this, and shout out to, the team down at Reds Miami. Frank, the triple, quadruple OG. Had some good conversations with him over the years. Going from memory, was this Jason Dandler's truck? There's the green one. There was a couple of them. I want to say this was Dandler's. I could be wrong. I know Eister or someone will chime in. Appreciate that. Here you've got I believe this was the Trucksarosa truck that was next to the green. You could see this is a lot of what we grew up with in Florida. Not saying that it wasn't everywhere, but the guy that got me in the mini trucks, he had a bunch of Orion stuff and the 88 Mighty Max. That stuff is certainly etched in my mind. Here I have photos of this again, hopping. And if I remember correctly, I forget the gentleman's name that was doing the hopping. He's, still boys and friends with Frank all these years later. I don't recall seeing Red Hot at 97 Slamfest. Apparently, I think it was inside. This is where I saw it. This was etched in my mind as a youngin'. And I saw this truck all these years later in 2022 for the second time at Made of Steel this year. So it has made its way back down to the east coast of Florida. And the guy, as I understand, got in kind of a bidding war a little bit, and it went up in price. But that truck literally is a time capsule. There's no other way to say it. I mean, it literally was in storage for 25 years. It made its way to Canada. And I mean, literally, it's all that stainless and stuff underneath the bed. It looks as good as it did this day. I mean, literally, you don't find them like that. So, pretty cool stuff that it's back. There you can see the Mazda next to the topless tilt bed with some wires. You got Red Hot's engine bay there. Still looks the same. You got one of the famous Isuzus and the famous CRX next to it. Show car. Looks like Matt Torgerson there. I don't know. You have this famous truck. I think this has the shaved body line. Always looks super clean. With that topper, I always dig those graphics. Here you got a good photo of the Mazda. That one is still around. I think this is the guy that brought it out a couple years ago. And it was also at the Daytona Turkey Rod Run from Georgia, I believe. You got the S-10 Sonoma, the Blazer on wires, which was super popular down here. And some cool colors on the hard body. Couple more photos. Club games, always a big thing there. And Shartsis did the write-up, and Mike Shartsis did the photography. Still remember this truck with the graphic. I forget if that was, I think that was paint. I don't remember if it was vinyl. But yeah, this was the first show I went to. And there were body drop trucks there and tons of awesome memories. We, of course, would always go by the IBP booth, and they would have bass CDs that we love buying. Still have some of those from buying it. You have Chuck Shear, the 84 Toyota. He only sold that truck, I think, like 5 or 7 years ago. He had it. I wonder sometimes if he wishes he hadn't because the mini prices have went up. And then look, Tim Gilbert's 87 Astrovan. Tim, is that you, buddy? Crazy. All these years later. And then you have Figment, the mid-engine. Never understood why they call it mid-engine. Dude, it's at the rear of the truck. How much more rear could it be? I mean, listen, I know, but that's not mid-engine to me. It's like they call Tampa University of South Florida. I'm like, dude, South Florida is Miami. One of those things. I'm back. The name is White Strange. Some of you may remember grooving with a ferret in your trousers while reading my diary entries not more than a year ago. Kind of go a little slower if you need to take screenshots. Remember, you could bump it to 4K if you need to, depending on your connection. YouTube defaults it to the standard, like the best resolution based upon connection. Here's Showfest 97, so this would have been, what, year 2? Going from memory. And then if you recall, they inadvertently called Showfest Slamfest in the magazine and print. I covered that. But I think 96 was the first year. One thing that I always remember about this is the proceeds would benefit the Mississippi Firefighters Memorial Burn Center. I remember that being kind of reinforced throughout the show weekend. When we started going in 2000, yes, many of you know that was basically like Woodstock. Speaking of Woodstock, today's the anniversary in 1969. So what, 53 years ago? 53 years ago. I still have not watched on Netflix the Woodstock 99. We heard all that stuff got out of hand. And I do have a friend, Sherry. Her and her sister drove up there in a wagon. And, what, 99 was it? Yeah, 69 and then 30 years later, 99. She said it was hellacious. Insanity. You've heard the stories, but I want to watch the documentary. I know it got really out of hand. A lot of people blame like Limp Bizkit and some of the bands for just literally causing havoc and just getting people stirred up way beyond maybe the limit. I wasn't there, so I can't say. Just saying what I've heard and read. Here you've got the famous Colorado Custom Wheel ad. You got the Severance, Hancock, Falcon, Leadville, Mystic, and Paradox. Paradox, one of my favorite wheels ever. That was on the first Straight Trucks cover. And for those that don't know, Paradox was the fake name that they were using when they were filming Back to the Future. I think it was Back to the Future 1, I believe. They called it Paradox because they would do that in production. They still do it with movies. They have a fake name. That way, if somebody gets a hold of production notes or they're looking at the clapper boards or whatever, when they say, all right, quiet on the set, boom, go, action, that people can't kind of figure out what's going on. Rental movie of the month, The Nutty Professor, your typical mini truck, slammed, big Euro billet wheels. Definitely appreciate all the good word, man, from these flip throughs. The thing I'll tell you is it does no good for me to just have these sitting in a binder. Is it cool to have them? Absolutely. Am I thankful? Yes. But to be able to kind of share it and go through, and this actually even helps me. It brings back some memories. It brings back some ideas on some things to do, whether it's on the Mazda or the S-10 or whatever mini truck. It is a little overcast here, and it's trying to keep it bright in here, but I don't know that I'm going to go back to doing these outside, even though I've got the lighting. It's been pretty hot. I guess I probably will once the fall comes around. And we don't really have crazy fall here. You guys know that. And then here's Lo-R-Levl. So a lot of mods on this one. You can see crazy tailgate mod. You've got the neon. You've got the tweed. You've got some sculpture going on. Plus you have behind the seats, crazy amount of car audio. Tom Lutz did the write-up. Mini Truck and staff shot this one. Jason Becker, Waterloo, Iowa. You guys remember him? You could see oftentimes the tag would kind of tell the story, and that would be maybe the lead-in as far as the title of the truck. Or the name of the truck, rather. And you can see there, Prestigious Customs, giving a shout out to whoever worked on it, did maybe the most work and things like that. Of course, all that would have been in the write-up. Industry look. Sir Michael's announces plans for its 1997 SEMA project Dragon Stomper. Ironically enough, literally, I was talking to someone the other day about Sir Michael's. We were talking about something, and he was talking about how his first truck had, I think it was Marlin. He was talking about how his truck had Sir Michael's, and I was telling him how Ruben worked there. The 7 degrees of Ruben Artiago. Here's Da Vinci Soundstream. So there you go. What do you guys think? Was it cool? I think it was awesome, right? So wire wheels and mini trucks, there were always 2 different flavors, just like you don't call a mini truck a lowrider and you don't call a lowrider a mini truck, obviously, right? But how cool was it? You basically have reds on the cover. You have a hot chick, hot model. You have reds from the local show here in Tampa doing the hop contest. Again, I have photos of this and the Blazer. What intel do you guys have, if any? Does this bring back some memories? You want me to keep doing them? Chime in the comments. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to check out our website. I would really ask if you can go buy a shirt. Now, keep in mind, they are a pre-order. So right now, the pre-order, you'll see, look at the write-up, 8/12 to 8/21, and then it could take 4 to 6 weeks after that. Typically not that long, but the prices reflect kind of more of a basic design. And we had Alan Paradise on recently, and he talked all about who created this original logo. We also have, if I didn't say this earlier, we have skate decks. This is not the official image, but you can get a skate deck that's going to have this artwork on it as well, hanging in the man cave, Wool Man Cave. Do your thing. We still got a bunch of other stuff, and we also have stuff on sale. You could go out there, t-shirts as low as $10. Check it out, ourlifestylepodcast.com. You guys have a great week. Maybe I'll try to hit you guys with a few more of these. Until then, we out ya. Peace.